Stonerwort is easily identified by its blood-red blooms. Search around the aqueduct, and you're sure to find some soon enough. I shall remain here and prepare the other ingredients.
How do you split the sea, you reckon?
All right, Clive. Blackthorn told me you helped him out again. Tough for that. Speaking of which, I'm actually a bit,
Worried about him. And you want my advice?
afraid so. It's a bit of a funny one, this, but I saved this posh knob while I was out on a mission, and he gave me this flashy ring to say thank you. So, obviously, I show it to Blackthorn, thinking he'll be impressed, only for him to go white as a sheet and quiet as a curl instead. Try as I might, I can't for the life of me work out what could have got him upset like that. And seeing as how Blackthorn opens up when you're around, I thought maybe...
I'd speak to him again. Well, I suppose there's no point leaving him to stew.
Cheers, Clive.
I'll be sure to pay him a visit as soon as I have a moment.
All right, I'll meet you by the forge then. You come along when you're ready.
Covered in nicks and lumps, the lot of them.
Oh, don't tell me we've run out of peppy or nuts and all.
Bloody hell, Clive. Not this again. Oh, ain't you got better things to do with your time?
That remains to be seen. August tells me he showed you a ring, and that the sight of it clearly upset you. Would you mind telling us why?
Come on, mate. Bottling it up ain't gonna help no one. If it weren't the ring, and it was something I said, then I'm sorry.
It was the ring, right? It brought back some unhappy memories, that's all. Memories better left forgotten.
Memories of what?
There are things we'd all rather leave behind, Blackthorn. But sometimes it helps to talk about them.
And sometimes it doesn't. Is that so hard to understand?
Don't be like that.
Fine. If it'll get you off my back. That ring he flashed was the work of Zoltan. We apprenticed together, back in the day.
You've never mentioned him before.
Why would I? Ain't seen him in decades, and the last time I did, we almost came to blows. The ring brought it all back. I could tell it was one of his the moment I saw it. Bastard's improved, though. More than I thought possible. That thing's a work of art.
So it was a nice ring. Worth a few gil, maybe. What's it matter to you?
It matters because engraving metal's a nightmare, and I've got no bloody idea how he managed it. The fact is, I couldn't make anything even half that detailed.
So what? You're an armorer, not a jeweler.
I'm the Idaway's master craftsman. I'm not stealing a living at some backwater village forge. My armor keeps you lot safe, and my swords keep you dangerous. As far as I'm concerned, every swing of my hammer's another blow struck in the name of our cause. So I put my heart and soul into my work. Because the curse breakers deserve better than second best. And I refuse to be shown up by the likes of Zoltan.
Very well. Why don't we go and pay him a visit? Learn his secret.
I doubt he'd be too happy to see me.
Then just this once. Make peace with being second best. Swallow your pride, and focus all your energies on the task at hand. Keeping the curse breakers armed and armored. Provided you can do that, you'll hear no complaints from me. But if you can't, and it's going to distract you, we need to do something about it.
What'd you say, Blackthorn? You know he's right. And it's not like you'll be going alone.
All right.
Magic. So, where do you reckon old what's-his-name is then? Zoltan, was it?
In Dravozd, my old village. He won't have left. He's the chief.
Dravozd, eh? That rings a bell. Not far from Tabor, right? Just north of the fields of Carava. Got that, Clive? Meet us at Dravozd as soon as you can, yeah? And I'll make sure Blackthorn don't get cold feet.
Good luck with that. I'll see you there.
Don't tell me we've run out of papio nuts and all.
Sid, perhaps you can help me solve a mystery.
I can certainly try. Who's gone missing this time?
It's not who, but what. Mid's scales, the ones she made for her workshop. I borrowed them to teach the little ones about weight, and shortly after the lesson, well, they vanished. My first thought was that they'd taken them off somewhere to play, but when I asked, they swore they had nothing to do with their having disappeared. Which almost certainly means they had everything to do with it.
Perhaps a visit from Sid will jog their memories.
I think it just might. Thank you. I don't like to imagine that my pupils would lie to me. But if they have, I'll have no choice but to discipline them accordingly. They were in the atrium when I last saw them, as always.
Needs it occupied.
What do you recommend?
Blasted Here, you put me in this situation, Clive. You can bloody well get me out of it. I need a hand with a recipe.
Are you sure it's me you're looking for? I'm not much of a cook.
I'm all the cook will be needing, thank you very much. What I want from you is a little of your time, right? Oh, and perhaps your sword. You remember Ivan's stew, right? Well, despite the look of the thing, and that awful stench, people wolf it down. So I thought I'd try making one of these supposed masterpieces myself. Had a peek at the book and gave it a go, but, well...
It wasn't as straightforward as you'd hoped. Ivan had the same problem.
Yeah, but this is my blimmin' kitchen, and I will not be outdone. So if you don't want to be seen as playing favourites, I suggest you lend me a hand.
I've never been one to play favorites, Molly. And I would be only too happy to lend you a hand. So, what's on the menu this time?
A fried mortress of skyworm. That's one heck of a name, innit? Recipe seemed easy enough to an old hand like myself. Thought I'd followed it to a T. Only, turns out skyworm livers and drake's mint are not what I thought they were. At least I hope they're not, given the rancid mess they made.
Yvonne said the recipes in the culinary pilgrimage date back centuries. Who's to say the ingredients even exist anymore?
Wow. That's a question for a scholar, wouldn't you say? Perhaps you know of one? Kindly old fella who haunts the shelves, maybe?
Fine. I'll go and speak to Harpocrates. Perhaps he'll know something. And if he does, I'll see if I can find your ingredients for you.
You do that. Lest we forget, you've got a reputation to uphold.
Sit! How about a rub?
Mid said I could ride it.
I have no reason to assume otherwise.
No, she didn't.
Clive, you must listen to this. Lawsman, tell him.
Do you recall when we spoke before on the divinity of Ultima? Well, it inspired me to delve deeper into the subject. And what I discovered appears to agree with the findings of His Grace.
You will recall that my quest to uncover Ultima's origins began with the mural at Phoenix Gate. But while I've always known it to be important, its secrets have heretofore eluded me. Now, however, I believe I know where to find the more complete example, one that will reveal all we seek.
Master Clive, have you ever in your travels chanced to hear of the Circle of Malleus? I would think not, if you have. But there was once a time when the faith flourished, the oldest known religion in the Twins, and though its popularity eventually waned on Storm, hints of its dogma remain embedded in more modern faiths such as the Crystalline Orthodox.
Wait, you said it waned on Storm. What of Ash?
Religious monuments are often torn down or repurposed when new faiths rise to prominence. But if no new faith arose, then perhaps the ancient temples might still stand. And so, you see now why I must accompany you to Waloed.
It would appear the past still has much to teach us, though in this case, it would not have been possible without the musings of Moss. To think that you carried a copy of my old mentor's chronicles all along. I am relieved to discover it in good hands.
I shall guard it with my life.
Joshua, if you're finished here, join me in the ale hall. I need to speak to everyone before we leave.
Right away.
If it please your grace, might I one day borrow the chronicles? For a short while.
Of course, Lawsman Hippocrates. You need but ask. My apologies.
By now you've all heard where we're going and why. So I won't bother you with the boring details, only the important ones. If we attempt to approach Stone here by sea, there's a good chance we'll be sighted and fall prey to the capital's artillery. So instead, we'll disembark on the southwest coast and make for Drake's Spine on foot. I say we, but it's highly likely the entirety of Ash is under the rule of Ultima. A large party would only attract unwanted attention, as well as slow our march and require supplies which may be difficult to obtain. Only Joshua and I will be going. And a scout. Preferably a good one. Gav, do you know of any?
You bet your ass I do. I might still borrow some of Lady Vivian's maps, though. Just in case, like.
Once you've dropped us off at the Shadow Coast, you need to retreat into neutral waters, fly merchant colors, and stay inconspicuous. If you sense any danger at all, you leave us behind and return to Storm.
Inconspicuous is my middle name. But like hell am I leaving anyone behind. The ship ain't going nowhere till your scurvy mugs are smiling on deck.
Jill, the Enterprise will appear a tempting target for royalists and pirates alike. You're to stop anyone boarding.
Don't worry. I'll keep the ship and her crew safe. You'll be needing passage home, after all.
But... very well.
If there are no questions, I'll see you all at the docks.
Let me know when you're leaving. I want a word before you go.
Of course.
Sid! Look what the Cursebreakers brought back from Dalmekia. Said they were all the rage in Dalamil. Looks sort of funny if you ask me.
I'll be damned.
Have you had one before?
Something smells good. What are we having?
Bombs! And they are good. You should try one.
Eh? A bloody great hole in it. Who ate the rest?
It's supposed to be hollow, silly. Haven't you ever seen Drake's Fang?
What do you recommend?
A shirt.
Oh, don't tell me we've run out of
Stew's awfully thin these days.
Lady Karen's calling a
Sid, do you recall the flowers I had you bring back to the yard?
Vaguely. Is something wrong?
I'm afraid so. I was able to get most of the Morganbeards to take root, but they rarely flower. I fear the soil here does not agree with them. However, I believe I have a solution.
I can't wait to hear it.
I'm going to marry the Morganbeards with Morbles. I know, but hear me out. Morbles are possessed of a highly choleric temperament. The fire which drives them appears to be maintained by an abundance of nutrient-rich ether drawn from their environs. I believe that by grafting a Morble vine to a Morganbeard, the appendage's wealth of vigor-inducing nutrients might well stimulate the flower to bloom. The endeavor, I assure you, is scientifically sound. I simply need a vine to prove the theory.
And all you need is a single vine from an ordinary Morble.
That is correct. A single vine. As for the Morble, I fear ordinary may not suffice. But, as luck would have it, a most extraordinary specimen is rumored to haunt the swamps of Rosaria. Why, a notice concerning this very creature was only recently posted on the hunt board.
How timely.
Well, I shan't keep you any longer. I know you have much to do, as do I. Now, where did I put my watering can?
Have you tried Molly's lemon tarts? I've never had any.
The stew's awfully thin these days.
What do you reckon we should do? I say we should
Sid!
Hard at your studies, I see. And what is that? It's not a set of scales, is it?
No. Of course it isn't.
Well, not anymore, it's not. Oh,
And just how long hasn't it been one?
we're sorry.
But we didn't break them. We dismembered them.
Just like Miss Mididol showed us.
Miss Mididol? And why would she have you dismembering her creations?
Because that's the only way to become a ninja-neer.
Miss Mididol said, the best way to see how something works is to take it apart and put it back together again.
Well then, your work is already half done. Carry on.
About that.
The taking apart was easy enough, but it's the putting back we can't work out.
Speak for yourself. The heavy thing goes at the bottom. Then...
You three need to learn to take responsibility for your actions. So let's have a look at these parts with fresh eyes, shall we? All right. Everything here was once part of Miss Mididol's scales. Every piece has its own role to play, and each is just as important as the others. If even one of them is missing, the scales won't work. So let's think about what those roles might be. You already know one of the pieces. The body. Its role is to support everything else. But what of the others? This is called the arm. Why do you suppose that is? It doesn't look much like an arm.
You're right. It looks more like a wing. Like a chocobo wing!
You've ridden a chocobo before, haven't you, Sid? Will you teach me to ride one day?
I'll think about it. Now, what do arms do?
Hold things. So wait, maybe this arm holds things too?
Good thinking. You're on the right track. These round parts are called the pans. You all know what a pan is, don't you?
I do. Molly uses them in the kitchens to fry bangers. But these aren't for frying bangers, you idiot. They're for weighing stuff. But what if I wanted to weigh Goots? I don't think he'd fit on that little thing.
Probably not.
What are the chains for? Holding the pans up?
Well spotted. Which means something must hold the chains up in turn. This tiny piece is what's called a cogwheel, or gear. Have you ever seen one before?
I have. Miss Minidole's dungeon is full of them. Most are on the floor.
She puts them in all her inventions. They spin round and round and round and round and...
That's right. They're very useful when you want to make things move. Do you remember if there was anything on the scales that moved?
I remember the arm moved when I tried weighing an apple. And then somebody ate it.
It's not my fault. You shouldn't have tried weighing it before lunch.
We know what part's supposed to move and how it's supposed to move. So, let's put the pieces together first, see what doesn't move, and then stick the cogwheel to that.
Not a bad idea. You see? It's not so difficult. So, now that we've taken stock of the parts and learned what they do, what do you think?
I think we've got it.
Then here's what we'll do. You tell me what goes where, and I'll put the scales together.
Well, obviously you need to start with the body. All the other pieces fit onto it, don't they?
And the arms go on the body, just like real arms. Or wings, if you're a chocobo. And then the arms hold the pans by the chains.
Very good. Let's see if that works. Ah, all finished.
Yes! We did it!
Well, with Sid's help.
Oh, I just put the pieces together. It was you three engineers who showed me how.
That's right. We're Miss Minidole's hares.
Her hairs?
Yeah, hares for the future. She's showing us her secrets now, so we can help out the hideaway when we're older.
What do you think, Sid? Are we almost ready?
With a little more help from Miss Mididole and Miss Shirley, I'd say it won't be long at all.
You hear that? It won't be long.
Until then, though, do try to be honest with Miss Shirley.
Hey, look! We never used the cogwheel.
You don't think Sid forgot about it, do you?
How do you split the sea, you reckon?
I am certain we will find what we seek in Ash, and learn the truth of Ultima's origins.
Well, did you solve the mystery?
It was as you thought. The children had the scales, or the parts of them at least. They dismantled them to see how they worked.
Oh, no, Mid will have my head.
Thankfully she won't. This might even have been her idea. Although I was the one who ended up teaching the lesson.
I'm so sorry, Sid. I know how busy you are. I shall see that the children are properly punished.
Please, there's no need. Mid seems to have taken the three of them under her wing. She's even calling them her heirs. She'd have them follow in her footsteps. And her father's.
I see. Sid, do you know why Mid has been spending so much time at the hideaway of late?
She told me it was because her studies have been interrupted by events in Canva. Is that not true?
No, it isn't. The university offered her a commission. In exchange for full tuition, room and board, they asked her to oversee the design of several new war engines. To anyone else it would be an opportunity, but to Mid, who lost both her parents to war, it was a bitter pill. One she was none too keen to swallow. But that should come as no surprise. She's only ever cared about bringing people hope. The very last thing war can be said to do.
Which explains her heirs. She's working to give them a better life. And so should I. What's the odd engineering lesson?
Oh, you've given them far more than that. And I'm sure they're very grateful.
Clive. Just the man I was hoping to see.
Oh? And why is that?
You remember how some of Sir Wade's guardians took up residence here after the Akashic attacked? Well, now the rest have come to join him. Seems their barracks in the Lazarus have been lost to an ether flood. Now, I don't mind having a few more brave boys around to keep them animals at bay. I ain't daft after all. But we ain't got nowhere for 'em to bed down. Poor buggers are having to make do with haylofts and chocobo pens.
I'd build him a new barracks here if I could. But where would I put him? There just isn't enough room up here on the rock. Which leaves us in a bit of a pickle. The people we're counting on to keep us safe are living like beggars.
I see.
And it isn't just that lot. There's bears to think about too. There's been more and more of them turning up lately, coming from all over looking for safe haven. But there's only so many we can shelter with the room we've got. We can't keep cramming more and more people into less and less space. What we need is a new home for our new arrivals. And that's what I was hoping you might help me with. If it ain't too much of a burden, of course.
It's no burden.
Thank you, Clive.
So, where were you thinking of making this new home?
Well, I reckon we could do a lot worse than Eastpool.
Eastpool. It's been a long time since I thought about that place.
It was a tragedy, what happened. And if any of us could have done anything to stop it, we would have. But what's done is done. And those who lived there wouldn't have wanted the village they loved to be left in ruins.
I suppose you're right.
The blight might be pressing in, but I reckon it's got a good few years left in it yet. There's just one problem. A band of cutthroats have made it their den, and they don't seem like they'll be moving on in a hurry. Nasty bastards they are too. I've lost some good men to their raids. Would have sent someone to clear 'em out sooner if my boys didn't already have their hands full fending off the Akashic. But now we've got a few more guardians of the flame to call on. I reckon it's time we made our move. What do you say? Fancy leading a raiding party?
I do. Eastpool was once home to people I loved. I won't have bandits sully those memories. I'll gladly drive them out of there.
And I know the men will gladly follow you. I've already shared a few thoughts with Sir Wade about how we might be able to win the place back. And I dare say he's got some ideas of his own too. Why don't you go and talk to him?
Of course.
Reckon Eastpool would make a nice little home for a few bearers and guardians with a mind to make a go of it.
All right, Sir Wade. Let's hear your plan.
I'm all for making this town a welcoming place, but... hospitality has its limits.
Sir Wade, it's good to see you well.
And you, Lord Rossfield. And you.
I spoke with Martha. She tells me you have plans to free Eastpool and make it your own.
That's right, though it was mostly her idea. I rather fear my men have been treading on her toes somewhat since joining us, not to mention each other's. And then there are the bearers, men and women who found the courage to flee their masters and sought refuge here. We need somewhere to settle them, and I can think of worse places than Eastpool.
As can I. Which is why I agreed to help you win it back.
That's very kind of you. I'd be most grateful if you would. With you beside us, we shall soon send that rabble of rogues running for the hills.
So, what can you tell me?
That thankfully there aren't too many of them. Fewer than a dozen at our last count. And rather less, thankfully. The road that leads there will more than likely still be crawling with Akashic. A small force would suffice to clear the village. But if the Akashic were to follow them in, that force could end up trapped between a rock and a very hard place indeed.
I'll head into Eastpool and deal with the bandits. You and the Guardians can stay outside the village and fend off any Akashic who come too close. Make sure I'm not taken unawares.
I can't ask you to bear all that risk yourself, my lord.
The Akashic are the bigger risk. I can handle a few bandits.
Well, if you're sure, I shall summon my men at once.
Shall I wait for you here?
No need, my lord. You go on ahead. We'll be with you before long.
All right. I'll meet you at Eastpool then.
We shall see you there. And may victory await our coming.
Inn's full. Don't bother.
I'll build a barricade so sturdy, even a bandit.
Faster! Can hardly make it.
Finished! This one! Go for it! Get him! Attack! Walk in here. Kill him.
He's dead now. Or face the consequences. It's over. That's the end of that, then. Or maybe not. What's that thing doing here? Doesn't matter. It goes Any more surprises? I'll take that as a no.
Bravo. A magnificent display, my lord.
You were watching? I thought you were keeping an eye out for a Kashik.
We were. Put down more than a few on the road, then arrived just in time to see you slay that... whatever it was.
Let's hope it was the last of its kind. Though I expect you and the Guardians will be up to the challenge should another appear.
I would hope so, my lord.
Your men will be bringing the bearers who'll be living here, I assume. It might be best to send word for them to come right away, before any other unsavory characters move in.
Of course. I'll send orders for them to depart immediately. Leave it with me, my lord.
Home. Without masters.
No. We're the masters now. Our lives are our own at last.
That's all of them. And not a single Akashek in sight. Now to begin the important work of rebuilding the place.
It won't be easy. Especially not after 5 years of beasts and blackguards having their wicked way with the place. The masonry might still be sturdy enough, but half the beams are rotted. Those that weren't lost in the fire or burned by the bandits, that is. It'll take a bit of elbow grease, but we'll see Eastpool rise again. Just you wait.
So wait. Lady Hannah is buried here. If you don't mind, I'd like Oscar to join the rebuilding efforts. He should be a part of this.
Of course. I couldn't agree more.
I'll let Martha know that everyone arrived safely. If you need anything more, you have only to send a Stolas.
And we will, my lord. Safe travels.
Eastpool is in safe hands. Time to go and tell Martha the good news.
Ah, there you are. All went well then. Sir Wade told me you got rid of the bandits while his lot kept an eye out. Nicely done. And what's all this about some shape-shifting nightmare showing up? On second thoughts, don't tell me. It'll only give me nightmares of me own. What matters is you did it. And now we can build our new village.
I suppose it will be. What will you call it?
What else? Eastpool. Sir Wade said it best. There's plenty bad happened to that place, but that don't undo the good that happened there. No need to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Did Wade say that?
Well, something along those lines. Anyway, the poor souls might have made it to Eastpool, but their work ain't done yet. So the way I see it, neither is mine. If it's food or lumber or strong backs they need, the rest is ready to provide it.
Thank you, Martha.
No, thank you. You didn't have to help us.
I wanted to.
Ah, Clive, I was just about to send for you. I'd like you to take something to Sir Wade up in Eastpool. Seeds for planting. Thought it was about time they started growing their own food. I'll keep providing them with whatever they need in the meantime, of course. But if Eastpool's going to survive, it's got to be able to fend for itself. As have those poor bearers. They've lived their whole lives in servitude, but now they're their own masters. Small wonder they ain't got the foggiest how to provide for themselves. So it's up to us to teach them. And if you're wondering why you, well, the Wagoneers taking supplies up that way have been coming back with more and more reports of Akashic around the village of late. Sir Wade's putting a brave face on it, but I think even he's starting to worry. And if he's likely to share those concerns with anyone, it's you.
All right.
Thanks. Wouldn't ask if I didn't have to. There. That should be enough to keep him in Gazal Greens for a few years at least.
Gazal Greens?
Not the most mouth-watering crop, I'll admit. But they're hardy, they grow fast, and they fill a hole. Better that than something that'll wither away at first frost. And chocobos love 'em too, which is no small thing. When I say all of us need to pull together to get Eastpool back on its feet, I mean all of us. They ain't exactly succulent, but cook 'em right and they're just about bearable.
I'll take your word for it.
Anyway, Sir Wade'll know what to do with them. And if he don't, well, I'll go up there and show him myself.
I'm sure you will.
Get them Ghazal green seeds up to Sir Wade in Eastpool, would you? And while you're there, ask him what the situation is with the Akasha.
I heard the Guardian saying we're supposed to grow our own food.
The victuals Martha sends us are more than enough for me.
Ah, Lord Rossfield. What brings you to Eastpool?
A delivery from Martha.
These are Ghazal green seeds. Martha's keen to cut the apron strings, then, is she? I jest, of course. You see, I had thought we might be able to revive the old wheat fields, but they'd long since gone to seed, only without the seeds.
Martha was hoping you might be able to show the bearers how to plant and tend these, so that they'll be able to fend for themselves.
That's not a bad idea. These bearers had only recently escaped their bonds before we brought them here. They know little of freedom, of providing for themselves and their loved ones. Unless we teach them how to live like free men, I fear that all we have achieved in bringing them here is to exchange one master for another. Not that myself and the Guardians have been the best example to them so far, subsisting almost entirely on Martha's charity as we do. It's about time we all started to provide for ourselves, bearers and Guardians alike. Unfortunately, we've been a little too busy of late to focus on much besides bolstering our defenses. There have been alarming reports of...
The Horde is closing in. They're coming, Sir Wade, all of them.
Damn it all, I thought we'd have more time. Gather the men in the square. Send to the rest for reinforcements.
Yes, Sir Wade.
The Horde.
Akashic, a veritable legion of them. They've been seen prowling around the northern reaches for a while now. We don't have the numbers to hold back a swarm that size. I had hoped to build a perimeter wall so that myself and the Guardians might be able to defend the village, but...
Now you're out of time.
Precisely. If reinforcements from the rest arrive before they do, we may just scrape through, but I fear that's rather an enormous if.
What if you could call on reinforcements from Eastpool?
You mean the bearers? We brought them here so they might live, not die,